correctly. We are recording. So for those of you, if by chance we lose electricity here and we go away, we will be sending you guys out an email to say, we're going to do it another evening. It's just out of our hands. But creating intentional success, that's really what the topic tonight is about. And my experience over the years is everything has to be done with intention. Whether if you're trying to have success and you're doing marketing, you want to have an intentional approach to doing that marketing. If it has to do with productivity on a day-to-day basis, my schedule has to have a certain amount. I always talk about that we're scheduling for productivity, not time. And that's something that we're not taught. We're not taught in dental school. And most dentists, I would say 99% around the country, don't schedule. They schedule based on how long it takes the doctor to be there, and that's kind of what they do. So I think I'm still on, but I got a frozen screen. So anyway, so if I'm looking to handle an intentional activity and I want to do $3,000 a day in production, then my team has to understand that that's what we're trying to book. That's what we're trying to accomplish, is that we have to have how many dollars per hour. We have to have a certain amount per hour to do that. So my team is aligned. I'm aligned, and I'm looking at my schedule. I'm actually looking at my schedule several days out because it's an intentional activity. It's not, here's the schedule, I'm going to throw a dart at it. And hopefully, here's your appointment, Ms. Johnson. It's on Wednesday at 9:30. Well, that's not the way to set up for a really productive schedule. It's not a way to set up for a real profitable practice. Other things that you look at, what are other intentional activities? I said something about marketing. If you're wanting to have just a family bread and butter practice, you're going to do a certain type of marketing that's intentional for that type practice. If you want to have a practice that's all on 4 or all on 6 or all on whatever, all on X, then you're going to market as an intentional activity to a specific group of patients. And does that make sense? Because it's like a lot of people, you go online right now, and I guarantee you on Facebook or on LinkedIn, you're going to have somebody reach out to you. And what they do is they bring you new patients to your practice. That's what they do. And they're only asking for X amount per new patient, or they're charging you. There's some out there that charge, 100 grand will bring you a lot of new patients. And that's actually out there in the dental marketplace. But what I can tell you is that it's critical to pick what kind of marketing you want and be intentional about that activity. So in my office, to kind of give you an idea, for a long time, I marketed for implants. This is back in the early to mid 90s. And I'm marketing implants. And I thought, well, that's awesome, because I was starting to do a lot more implants. Then I had a buddy of mine on the golf course came up to me and he said, "What do you think about my smile?" And I said, "Well, what'd you do?" He said, "I had veneers done." I said, "Well, why didn't you come see me?" He said, "Well, I didn't know you did veneers." In other words, my intentional activity became, oh, I was just marketing implants. Well, I guarantee you I changed the way I marketed, because I like doing all types of same-day smiles or any of those types of things. I like doing that. And so I market to people who hopefully I'm going to get to do that on. If I step back again, what are some other intentional things that you do in your practice that can help you predict success? We've talked about predictive analytics and knowing your business, knowing how much it costs you to run your business, and working backwards. And we teach that Productive Dentist Academy. I call it having my comptroller in my office. I know exactly what I need to produce and exactly what I need to collect, and those things, and exactly how much I'll make myself, personal salary, for that month. And I can tell you that within 5% for 20 years, I knew exactly what I was going to make every month. And anything that was above that, it was gravy. So I was always on the high end. I was always had the luxury of making more money than I thought we were going to be making. So if I look at that and I look at the way that I schedule and I look at the way I set my goals as an intentional activity to be something that covers my overhead and covers my expenses, not just okay, but pays me too. There's a lot of people that, they give bonuses to their team and they take home almost nothing. And that's not what we're talking about. I'm listening to all these Facebook groups and now Clubhouse, and I hear people talking and like, we like to give our team certificates or cards just to be nice, to go get coffee, go down to Starbucks and get coffee, or we bring in donuts and we do this, all these different nice things for the team. We bring in a massage therapist once a month to do massages. That's all great. And I highly recommend it if you're profitable. If you're not, you're just fooling yourself. So you want to set yourself up for intentional success. And, I step back. What are some other things that are going to make a difference? Okay, let's say you have a laboratory you're using and you started using them and, every third case, there's a problem with it. And then all of a sudden we got another problem over here. And then, so you're ending up spending an enormous amount of time. Now, there's only one of two reasons that's happened. Number one, you didn't write the correct directions or the correct what you wanted on that script. Or two, they're just not a lab that can handle it. And trust me, I've found lots of labs that could not handle what I was trying to accomplish and the level of care I wanted to give and the level of quality that I wanted to do. And I found them, I use them a little bit. I say, that's just not working. I always tell people, I work with Root Lab in Kansas City, and I think they're the best lab in the world when it comes to doing all on anything or anything implant related. They're the best in the world. So I am 100% sure that I have very little to adjust. I have very little time. And what happens with your intent of success? What happens to your intent of success when a lab case doesn't fit, when the lab doesn't send it on time, all those little things. So I set myself up intentionally for success by I may pay a little more, but I'd rather pay a little more so that I can predictably get this success that I'm trying to accomplish with patients. I can also say this about another aspect of the office. What about our team? What about our team? We, and I say we, in my first 10 years in practice, I hired people based on that they had experience. And, that's not necessarily what you want. What you want is somebody who can do the things that you would like for them to do for you at a level that you want them to be able to do it. One of my assistants that was with me for 30 years, I got her from Walmart. She was a checker. She was nice. Another was a vet assistant. Another was a massage therapist. And they came to the office and I was like, you'd be perfect for this. But if you want intentional success, you have to train that team member. And this is critical because we get so frustrated. When you're stressed, productivity and intentional activity goes way down. So you're stressed because things aren't being done the way you want them to be done. So what do? I hold people accountable, but I have to train them to be able to hold them accountable. I can't, and I was not good at it. I'd say, well, I hired you to be able to do these temporaries. You should be able to do it. And it would make me upset and I would upset them. And it just takes the entire esprit de corps of the team. It takes them right down the tubes. And on my podcast this morning, I was talking about my smiley face, frowny face. When I used to come in the office, they would put a smiley face or a frowny face up to determine what my mood was. And most of the time it was because I was upset about something that happened in the office, which interrupted my goal of being successful. And so what I would do is I'd step back and I said, you know what? These are training opportunities. I have to, if I look at everything that Gay does for me, if there's anything, she's making a temp, she's packing cords, which I don't do those things anymore, but what is she doing it the way I would do it? And can I easily become a teacher with her and show her how I like it? If she polishes it temporary, but it's not high sheen or it doesn't look the way I like it or I want it, then I say, let me show you, there's another little tool here. Let me show you how to shine it. So now what I've done is I've given responsibility to Gay, and it's my responsibility to now. I can check her for the next 6 months. If 98% of the time they look just the way I want them and 2% of the time it doesn't, that's okay, because 98% of the time when I'm doing a crown prep, it may not turn out the way I wanted. So I have to understand that everybody's a human being. But if I want to have intentional success and set myself up for that, I want to make sure that I train her. I train Shannon to do sleep medicine. I send her to sleep medicine courses. I go in, I listen to her, I tell her how I do it. In fact, I do it first, and so I do the entire exam. And now that sleep medicine has turned into my practice, has turned into almost nothing. I walk in and I go, how are you? I understand. I looked at your results. You've got sleep apnea. I'm going to recommend this, and I'll have Shannon go over it with you. My time to do a $2,500 sleep appliance might be 5 minutes a time. So I'm setting myself up for intentional success by doing things repetitively, by doing things over and over the same way. And those are the things, a lot of us, and again, I use myself, I went to work, I worked, and I came home. This morning's podcast was on perception of value, and it came out this afternoon, but the perception of value is huge, and it will help you create success. And those are the things that, I really wanted to talk about and share with you tonight. And we're going to be doing more podcasts on other topics like that, but we're just seeing if we have any questions, Stephen, before we go out of electricity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for bearing with us. We do have a great question. And I just wanted to say, this topic was pulled from episode number 89 of the Productive Dentist podcast. It was a great summation that Dr. Baird did, kind of reflecting at the end of the year of what worked for people, what didn't work, how can they make changes? And here we are, February 16th or 15th already. And it's like we're still in that kind of grace period where you can not just work in the business, but work on the business. So definitely go back and listen to that podcast. I'll have a link for you in the recording. So even talking about some of your preparation today, Dr. Baird, just reading some of those articles that have come out about Tom Brady, of course, after winning his 7th Super Bowl, and the preparation and the things he does, like the 9 o'clock bedtime, 65 degrees on the thermostat, just different things like that. It is very interesting when people kind of engineer their own success.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And it's something that, when I'm seeing patients, I try to do this in a specific way. I try to do things. I come in, I look at the charts. I've actually looked at the charts the evening before, so I already know who I'm seeing and what we're doing. But everything sets you up for predictable success. And I don't want it to be a surprise that we were successful. Is a great thing that I try to teach people.
Absolutely. And please do get your questions in. We have a great question from Dixie. I think this is really interesting. This is going to come from some of how you interview when you're kind of looking for those qualities in other folks. So what kind of questions do you do during an interview that are you asking in the interview that you think kind of sets you up for success with bringing on a new team member?
Yeah, that's a super great question, Dixie, but I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you the way that I've done it in the past. And I think it was, I went from having 3 employees in 1 year to go to 23 employees. So I literally didn't even know the names of most people who were in my office. We hired them if they had a pulse, and if they spoke Spanish, that just meant we were a bilingual office. So it didn't even matter. And then we got 2 or 3 that were great. And what I decided, and this was probably 10 years into practice, which is crazy, it took me that long, but we would have people come in for a working interview first. We'd have applications, and I had an office manager that would look at them. And I trusted this office manager greatly. If I didn't, I would ask the questions myself. And I would ask them just like I do almost with with my new patients. I want to get to know you. How long have you lived in Granbury? Where'd you move from? We have to be careful of what questions we ask. Even in every state, there's a little bit different rules. But bottom line is, I want to get to know them. I want to see if they make eye contact, and if they're a good verbal communicator. That doesn't not necessarily mean they're going to be a good dental assistant or a good front desk. There have been lots of people who are great communicators, but they love hearing themselves talk so much that you just kind of want to smack them and tell them to be quiet and sit down. So you want that person. So what my team did, I do this every January, Dixie. I look at everybody around me and I decide, is there anybody here that's just doesn't fit? Is there anybody here that's just is not helping, is not pulling the rope the same strength? Because I believe in that everybody's doing their job. And so I look around and I've had to let people go in that January. So I've surrounded myself with really uncommon people, and I let those uncommon people who I really have a high, and when you're first opening a practice, it's hard because you don't know who to trust or anything else. So you may want to do this yourself, but it's more difficult to do what I'm going to say. Have them come in for a working interview, no guarantee, no nothing. And then have the team at lunch take them out to lunch. Now, I'm not asking them any questions. I'm not asking any questions that are going to be difficult to answer or could cause a big uproar about, you can't ask certain questions. Do you have a car that you can get here on, you think you'd be able to ask them that. Are you going to have a problem with this or that? Let the team vet them. And then let the team say thumbs up, thumbs down. In my experience, I was able to build from a core group of 2 or 3 people. I was able to build a team that was 20 people strong, that if you didn't fit in with the team, they would just disappear. They would just disappear. And I'd go, where's Mary? Oh, she's gone. Where'd she go? I don't know, because they realized they didn't fit in. So I don't know if that helps, Dixie, but I like it that way because it gives everybody a sense of responsibility, and you're going to love this place. And I also would tell my team, if you have any friends that you think might fit in, tell them to come interview, because I can train anybody. If they train me to do a lot of the stuff that I do, I can train anybody to do it, so that's my take on that.
Yeah. I mean, you just created a culture that kind of sussed out itself a little bit, right? It's just like, we operate for the benefit of Dr. Baird. And if you're not going to do that, then we're going to move on, because we all want to win together. So Dr. Nelson Lowe, I talk about him on here all the time. My personal dentist over here in Plano, Texas, same folks, 6 years, just about everybody. They really do work for the doctor's benefit, and they really do kind of gel together as a team. And you can feel it in the office. It's fantastic seeing the same folks every time.
Absolutely.
All right, let me see if we got another question that came in here. It might be a follow-up from Greg Perry. The team is invested in the new team member's success when they have a part in the decision. That's a great point, Greg. That's a great point.
Yeah. Now, that was Barry asking that question, I think.
Yeah, Barry's got a question for us, and Greg kind of had a comment there. So.
Oh, yeah. Greg, that's good. Yes, the new team is your team that's picking the team members is vested in the success. It was funny because I've only lost, I've had 4 assistants for a long time that worked with me in 4 different treatment rooms. And I've only lost one time in the last 20 years. But when I did, they said, well, what do we do? How are we going to handle this? And I said, well, y'all are going to do this. You're going to go you're going to interview. You guys are going to take them to lunch. You're going to tell me who it is. And they said, well, what if we don't like them? I said, well, you picked them. So you better train them. I had a hygienist. We had a new hygienist, and she's awesome. And we brought in a new hygienist, and she just griped about this new hygienist. And I asked her, I said, so-and-so, why don't you do this for me? Would you do me a favor, which I love doing? Would you do me a favor? Would you mind training Sue over here to be a hygienist just as good as you? And she got red, and I said, because that's what I want. And I think she can be that if you will train her how to do it. And within 3 months, the new hygienist was actually producing per hour at the same level as this other one, who was a high producer. So I love doing that. I noticed Barry has a question. How do you have time to train the team weekly at lunch in a busy schedule? We're inconsistent because the office is always busy, and I have some team members that are reluctant to pivoting and learning. Again, a fantastic question. When I opened up in Granbury, Texas, if you haven't heard my story, there was only 4,000 people in the town, and there were 4 dentists, and I opened up with a partner in there. So there were 2 of us, and we were open from 8 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, plus we were open most of the day Saturday. And the reason we were is we were seeing 300 new patients a month. I was totally swamped. So I get that, you're in this situation where it's like you get an employee. Like, remember, I went from 3 employees to 23 in a matter of a year. We did $1 million in production in our first year in 1984, and that was at $235 a crown. So we were cranking crowns, but I was like the crown doctor. I just do 1 crown at a time. That's what I did. And I realized that's not what I wanted to do long term. And what I found out was, when I was always irritated with an assistance or how things were being done, I never really told them. And if I did teach it in our 2-hour once a month meeting, and if I did teach them at that point in time that this is the way I want it done, then it took me so long. I mean, I would tell them this is the way it would be done. When that person left, because I ran through a bunch of assistants and a bunch of team, then I had a new person. I had to train them. And then I had another new person. I had to train them. So what you do is you take your core, and you're the things that you have to do. You're going to have to learn scheduling based on productivity. Even though you're busy, you're going to have to step back. You're going to have to really look at it, and you're going to have to start getting, and I've done several podcasts on scheduling for productivity. If you have any questions, you can also send me, bruce@productivedentist.com, and I'll be glad to help you. But the way we schedule creates a lot of time in the day, even though we're a super busy practice doing $5.5 million a year on basically a 4-day work week, and me a 2-day work week. So we saw lots of patients. There was high patient volume. However, what you're going to find is your actual profitability by training them exactly the way you want it done. Lunch, you're right. Most dentists don't even get a lunch break, because the way they schedule, they start to get behind. And once you're behind, you catch up at lunch. And then you're in the afternoon, you have a fresh start, and boom, by about 3, you're behind on something else. And now you've got the end of the day. The problem is it's the way we schedule. And no one's been taught, well, very few. If you've been through Productive Dentist Academy, you've been taught how to schedule properly. You'll see if you're doing 400 an hour, the average dentist is doing 425. I can pretty well predictably tell you'll be close to 1,000 an hour just by learning to do that one thing, which is schedule productively. And it's not an overnight thing. You don't go from being Tom Brady, second string in his 3rd year, 5th string in his 1st year, to a starter as a senior, and immediately become, a 7-time Super Bowl champ, 10 times to the Super Bowl, 14 times to the AFC championship. You don't just do that. It took him an intentional activity over a period of time. So it's a question that I would say, start now with an intention of having it a certain way. And once you do that, start out with 3 employees who are really tight with you, and who you really know their best interest is in the practice and the patient. And if you find somebody like that, that's a good communicator and can talk with you, then you begin to build your dream team or your uncommon team from those. And you may have an entire team that's that way, but they just need guidance. And so that's where, for me, I'd step back and I'd say, we're taking all Friday. We're not seeing patients. We're going to talk Friday. Or I'm going to say, we're not seeing patients, but I'm going to talk to the hygiene team on Friday. But the actual value for me in a lot of cases, as I'm doing dentistry, and I would say, Gay, take a look at this. Let me just show you how I do it. And I know I'm busy and I'm supposed to be other places, but once I started getting into scheduling based on productivity, I had more time than I ever thought I would have in a busy $5.5 million a year practice. And I love that. So I don't know if that answered your question at all, but Barry, you can reach out to me if you want to.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Dr. Baird. I put your email in the chat, mine as well. So if you have anything that needs to get over to Dr. Baird, I'm happy to send that as well. And then reminds me of kind of like things I think about in cross industry, things that we can borrow. If you go into a Nordstrom's when all this is said and done, you go to the shoe department and you ask for one shoe, they're going to bring you 5 shoes because that's the way they train folks. And then folks take a look. Oh, I know, I like that shoe. I didn't even see this one. So I need a loafer, I need this. So it's kind of those things like he was talking about the culture of implementing some of these techniques in, and that'll help boost your revenue. And this kind of flows into our next question, Dr. Baird. Are there any hints on motivation during like the daily huddle? Any like kind of rallying things? I saw some people were playing YouTube videos at one point in time, getting everybody hyped up with maybe some high energy, 30-second little bites.
Yeah, I don't look at the dental practice necessarily like our Walmart early morning meeting that we're going to go out and take care of our associates and do all that. But I will tell you what happened to me over a period of time, and I loved it, is first of all, I was the one prepared for the morning meeting, and I would just simply ask questions. So I spent a lot more time saying, how is, and these are pretty random, but how many patients that are coming in today need panos taken? And the one person who had in charge of that, they would say, we have 7 panos coming up today. That, in other words, they're due for a Panorex. How many patients do we have that have account receivable with us? The way we do it now is obviously we have somebody who is doing all the AR, someone who's looking at the schedule, someone who's looking at what procedures need to be done, or we could add on to the day's revenue or day's revenue production. And for me, just being there, being prepared and being in a good mood made all the difference in the world, because sometimes I'd come in and I was just not very happy. And it just went throughout my entire office, and it was just like poison. So for me, as I got that dream team, guess what? The last 5 years of practice for me, I don't go to the morning meeting. I step back and I hold them accountable for only a couple of things. First of all, I want to make sure that I am productive. I want to make sure scheduled for the day, I have X amount of dollars. And, I was doing 3,000 an hour, even more than that when I put the handpiece up 18 months ago. But I'm sitting here, that's 24,000 a day. You know what? And I was only working Mondays and Tuesdays. And so I thought, I was getting 24,000 a day every day. I was getting it next week. I had 24,000 a day because I was diagnosing 24,000 at least. I was getting acceptance, but my team, if I saw a dip in productivity, if I saw a dip in production, collections, if I saw a dip, because I follow the numbers, I follow the numbers, metrics are everything. And if I started to see a dip, my first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to step back and look at myself. I always try to do that. Do I remember the names of my patients I saw this week? Am I just going through the motions, or is this really family? Am I really building relationships that are going to create success? And if I'm not, Well, then usually the production comes down because of me, but our morning meetings, me being in a good mood was about all my team needed. So I can't answer the other part. But then I had such a good team. I had Gay would look at the schedule. She knew exactly that schedule. She would review that with everybody. Um, Hygiene would review their numbers, which patients are coming in, which ones needed additional therapy, who needed to have a special injection, they did it all on their own. And my team guides me wherever I need to go during the day. They'd be standing outside the treatment room saying, I need you over here. Now, I would already know that because I'd kind of planned it for the day. So anyway, that may or may not answer your question, but I am kind of a motivator. I like to talk to the team. I say, man, we're kicking butt this month. I mean, it's so good. And I mean, our patients, we've gotten 15, 5-star reviews, and we got these 4 letters. Let's read these letters, And so those are the kind of things that I would always try to stay upbeat and positive. And when things are going to shit in a handbasket, I don't do that in the morning meeting. What I do is I try to step back and evaluate, okay, why is it doing that? Who are the people involved? What do I need to do? And so I always look at it as that's leadership on my part saying, I want to be the boss and I want to know what's going on, but I don't want to beat you up all day long. Remember, I was a son of a Marine aviator. You either did it my way or the highway. And that's how I started my practice that first 10 years. But after that, as I learned, it was probably 10, even 15 years into practice before I actually understood what it meant to be a leader and what it meant to be. You don't have to wait that long, by the way. I just was real stubborn. And bottom line is it doesn't matter how old you are or how long you've been in practice. You can be an amazing leader. You just have to expect one thing and hold people accountable. So inspect what you expect. That's what I've always done for the last 25 years. So, and it turned out to be extremely successful way of doing business. And that's really what we teach at Productive Dentist. That's what's led to the products that Comprehensive Finance has, a Bella, which is, I think, the best AR solution there on the planet. And then Compassionate Finance, where you can help people get more dentistry done. And those, to me, I only have 2 goals. One goal is to take great care of my patients, and the second is to reach my goals. So, and that's it. And you'll hear that if you come to our program. So,
absolutely. And one of the things you can kind of pressure test there is, what are your financial options that a patient has when they're in the chair? Do you offer, discount for cash payments? Are you offering third party like Care Credit Lending Club? Do you have a backup plan when those 2 fail, like a Compassionate Finance? That's another way to hit those goals, is by having your team knowledgeable about what do we do in each situation to get the maximum amount of dentistry that the patient needs done. So kind of pressure testing some of those as team members come and go, out of sight, out of mind. You forget to offer solutions you might have in practice that you think are being offered, but you don't know.
Greg asked, you have transitioned into a manager now. What did that transition look like? And that's a great question, Greg. And I know what you're kind of going through, but and I can always only say for me, I became a manager probably 12 years before I ever put the handpiece up. And over that period of time, I just tightened every system. I tightened everything to where the practice truly could run without me. And I say that, first of all, did I believe it? No way. There's no way they're going to bring in a dentist and this practice, when I leave, it's going to be a crash. And you know what? It wasn't. As a matter of fact, I left and everybody said, well, I miss Dr. Baird, and they would tell me, what am I going to do without you? And I said, well, I didn't even know you liked me. And they would just laugh. They said, we love you. And I said, well, I love you too. And so I literally stepped completely away from the practice. And so what my transition is just like, I said, I'm going to work and I'm going to walk away. And so that's what I did. And my partners took over and they run the show. I go up to play every once in a while. I'll see a patient just to piddle around. I've put in an all on 5 a couple weeks ago. And I don't know, I just go up there and just piddle around. In your situation, you do need a manager. You need to start, but being a manager, it's just knowing exactly what it is you want in every aspect of the practice. People will ask me that question, Greg. They'll say, well, I think I need an associate. I go, okay, why? Why do you think that? And I make them go through a series of probably 15 or 20 questions to answer before I'm convinced they actually need an associate, or it may take 2 or 3, and I know they're ready for an associate. But it's the same thing being a manager to that. What I would like to do if I was managing multiple offices or whatever, I would again put somebody between me and the offices so that I could manage that person and then find a person that can do that. I've done that with Productive Dentist Academy. I did that with Comprehensive Finance. I've got people now that I trust so much and that continue to create value and grow the businesses that, you know, I can spend time with the 13 grandkids and go to Mexico. And this was my first time ever. This last week, I was in Mexico, Super Bowl Sunday night. I'm in Mexico in a swimming pool watching this game on this huge TV. And my wife and I decided we were supposed to leave the next morning. We said, well, you know what? We're not leaving tomorrow. Let's leave Thursday. And by golly, it's the first time I've ever extended a vacation. It felt so good. And Greg, you're going to get to enjoy that. So you're going to enjoy those things. But finding the right people to help you manage is critical. So I don't know if that answered the question, but you can tell me later.
That's great. That's a very motivational way to end our webinar this week. I thought that was awesome. If anybody is not using Compassionate Finance yet or using Abella yet, I'm going to send you a recording of tonight's program. Share it with friend, family member, team member alike. It's going to be a shareable link. And do give that a free trial. You get a 30-day free trial, no setup fee, and we'll show you value right up front like we like to do here on this program. And we will be back in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about kind of some things you can add to your practice that will help it grow and expand. I had the privilege of watching Dr. Baird on the Full Arch Masters webinar a few weeks ago. And if you wanted to see soup to nuts, how real high productive dentistry gets done, that was amazing. That was an amazing program. So we're going to talk about some things like that next week.
Yeah, technology is changing, and it's changing drastically, and it's transitioning fast. So their goal at Full Arch Masters is to bring me out of supposed retirement. So that's their goal. And you know what? They might succeed. I love surgery. I love doing implant surgeries. And man, with this printing and 3D and smile designs, it's just so much fun. I just wish I was 18 again. All right, guys. See you later. Bye, Dixie, Herbie, Greg.
Yeah, next time I'm in Florida, Herb, I'll have to come by and say hello to you for sure.
That's right.
Take it easy.